I went missing on October 27th, 2019. I was discovered on October 28th and taken to a local hospital by an ambulance. So I'm going to do my best to give you a daily update, just to give you background information and information regarding Mommy and Micaiah's current situation and background information as to what caused what has happened and as to why we are here today and requesting some type of assistance through GoFundMe. Now, I've only done GoFundMe a couple of times before. I know it's a cool place where you can, raise funds for crowdfunding. I think that this issue is really relevant for Spartanburg, but which is my local city where I live here in South Carolina. But it's also relevant for people in other parts of the country and in other countries as well. It's astounding on how similar or how crazy you can perceive things. So it just makes me a little bit weary moving through the court system. I do have a few more court dates coming up, and I don't know how many more I'm going to have. I have been in an ongoing discussion, I'll say, through the court system beginning in 2018 when I decided to leave and to move out from my son's father's home and to move out on my own. And at that time, I did not move out on my own. I moved in with a roommate who was a woman who also had a small child. So it was us and our two small children. We lived together in a 3-bedroom house for several years until the pandemic happened. And it was actually before the pandemic happened that things got a little crazy. So up till this point, most of our court proceedings have just about, making agreements. When you break up with a partner, you make agreements about who's going to spend time with who does what, and things like that. And we've always had something in place. But when it came to me falling victim to being assaulted and not remembering some things that happened, I didn't remember a lot of it because I was unconscious through a lot of the hospitalization. I was there for 10 days. I lost my hearing during the hospitalization. This was 2019. So initially when I left and I moved out from my son's father's house, I pursued a yoga certification program. That was my goal. It was something I always wanted to do. I did have some previous physical injuries, but they weren't that bad. I had a car accident, and I fell off a skateboard, and they had proposed some things like multiple sclerosis for my initial pain and inflammation. But things actually got better for me within 6 months. My pain went away, and I went through chiropractic and nutrition therapy, and I was like all into yoga, and I was like, this is great, you know what I'm saying? Later on, that was like my maintenance, especially after I gave birth. I did give birth at home. We had a home water birth with a midwife and a doula, of course, from our local area. And in the beginning, things went really great, but not so much afterwards. I was definitely able to maintain my physique through yoga and nutrition and things like that. But when it came to working, there were conflicts that came up as far as my son's father didn't really want me to work. He didn't want me to go out. He thought that if I go out, something would happen to me, which is not something that was new to me. I grew up with that idea, even from my own family, that if you go out and do this and that, someone will kidnap you or something will happen to you. So I did actually receive a death threat in 2018 about pursuing a yoga certification. I was known for doing yoga at home and sharing it with my friends and things like that, and I was also I was Reiki certified during my pregnancy. So I'm level 2 Reiki practitioner. I'm not a master. And then I pursued my yoga certification. I was told that if you pursue yoga certification, I'll kill you. Because you're already a yoga teacher. You should just do that at home, pretty much kind of thing. And I didn't really understand where this is coming from because as a person who I have a full education, I went to a 4-year college, I studied beyond college, and I studied abroad. I was very career oriented. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm very work and career oriented. I don't really understand not doing things. And so being a stay at home mom is very demanding, but at the same time, I don't really understand not being allowed to have a career. So I did receive this threat from, I'm going to keep the source anonymous, and then I pursued it anyway. And my son's biological father actually joined the class with me. He went through the meditation part, which is the first part of it. He did drop out halfway through. He didn't finish all of it. I was dedicated. I stayed through, and I went on to decide I really want to open a business, teaching yoga and really teaching art because that's my passion. I grew up doing artwork. I went to school for art, and I teach intuitive art classes. So I love bringing people together and teaching them kind of how to create their own thing. And so this is really a studio that I rented to kind of practice. And you have to practice in the beginning. You can't just go out and just open a business or get hired. You've got to practice and interact with people. And there was a local art studio where I opened a space where I could show my artwork, and I could also host little events for my family and friends, things like that. And I didn't really get that far. It was only a year after the threat. It was 2019, October 27th. I actually had a Halloween art class planned. And it was going to be, I wanted to kind of make it fun. Halloween's not my favorite holiday. And I said, let's just try to make something fun. For people to, do, it was going to be animal oriented and see like what came out. And when you do intuitive art, it's what comes out on the canvas, what kind of colors come out, what are you feeling? And at the last minute, I decided to cancel because I promoted this class at the grand opening, just introducing myself to everybody. And I said, I don't feel great. I don't know, really, I feel like something's going on. I had like this stalking feeling, like somebody's is after me. And I canceled the class. I didn't show up, but I also didn't show up for work the following days after. And so that's how some people came looking for me. They found me, were able to bring me to, but I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't able to breathe. I was still having a lot of spasms, especially of my neck. I told them I kept going. I said, I can't talk. The ambulance was called for me, and I was transported. I was there for 10 days. Now, I did post a couple of my medical reports on the GoFundMe account. I updated some of the information. It was a little bit vague. I'm going to keep updating it. But I was treated with potassium chloride. I have some memories that are clear, some that are not. The stories get kind of weird. But definitely they were trying to keep my heart rate up, trying to keep me conscious. I did lose my hearing for a good period of the time. Just wanted to give you an update. I'm going to do a part 2 because I got to talk more about my son and how it affects him. But I hope y'all have a great evening.